Thank you. Thank you very much. This meeting, of course, is wonderful, isn't it? And all of these scientists working to find the truth and display the truth to defend us from the climate change people. But we shouldn't fool ourselves. They're also having a lot of fun because they're not only attacking our enemies, but they're studying the advance of the science of climate change. And this, to come and watch them for these days doing this has been a tremendous privilege. And they all talk about truth. And the truth is perfect. The truth floats above us as something perfect that we reach up to find as best we can. And many of our greatest men have talked about this. Isaac Newton, at the end of his life, said, "I do not know what the world thinks of me, but to myself, I have been just like a small boy playing on the seashore, occasionally finding a more beautiful pebble or shell, while the whole ocean of truth floats above me." And he reached into that perfect place and did a few things which revolutionized our lives and our science and everything else. Booker T. Washington talked about this. He founded Tuskegee and raised the money so the former slaves that were his first students could go there. But every week he'd talk with them about various things. And one of his most famous talks, they're all published, was about the truth. And he said, "I don't care whether you forget everything you learned in these courses, history and math, everything. I don't mind if you forget all the facts that we've taught you here. If you learn to find the truth, you will be educated. And if you don't learn to find the truth by yourself, you will not be educated." And then he went on to say that if you're able to do that academically, it will follow into your life that you cannot be false to any man. And we see this in many people that have spoken about that in this meeting. I have a suggestion that might be helpful to what we're doing and all committed to here, but I want to tell you a little bit about how that suggestion arose. When we were at UC San Diego and Stanford and working, and my wife, who was also a scientist, we wanted to be completely free, so we stopped taking government money and moved to Oregon, which was quite a different place then. You know, Reagan was governor of California, and Oregon was very free, and set up a little research laboratory and did as we liked. We were free to do anything we wanted, no government money, and then when Peter Beckman unfortunately died, he asked me to write Access to Energy, which I did, and that things I wrote there got the climate change people mad at me, and so we got into this arena in that way. But we had 6 children, and during the Cold War, like many people, we wanted to do something to help, and so we worked on nuclear civil defense. And there were 6 of us. In the middle of that, Laura Lee caught pancreatitis and died, so we were left with 6 children, 1.5 to 12, and I grew up on the farm. The 7 of us grew up on the farm together and just continued the same work we'd been doing. And I have a lot of fun with one of the research papers we published. It is published by Robinson, 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 and Robinson. And we just all worked together. Eventually, 3 of them married and 3 haven't. And the 3 of us that still live on the farm, Noah, Matthew, and me, have now been joined by 18 new Robinsons from the 3 that did marry, so our staff has increased a lot, and we all worked together on the things that we've been doing all this time. I'm not sure whether that was because and things changed. After she first died, I was, of course, leading things, and we developed a way of homeschooling without a teacher. And that turned because I didn't really have time to be a teacher. My son Matthew says I don't tell the truth about this. He says I helped him once every 2 years, he says. But that proved useful in the homeschooling environment. About 100,000 students have used it. but the things gradually changed. And they changed especially because although I have been blessed with pretty good abilities, my son Noah was way past me in intellectual abilities, and he gradually took over. So now he's the leader of the family, and I'm still running errands. I said in the early days, the Lord's raising the family, I run errands. Now I'm still running errands, but I'm running errands for Noah, and it's great. But they decided I'm not sure whether it was to give me something other to do, but they decided to elect me, try to get me elected to Congress so I could bring a little more information about the physical world to the U.S. Congress. And we didn't succeed in that, so they chose a smaller pond and elected me to the Oregon Senate. And that has been very interesting. First, you go into a place where you must smile at everybody, you're friends with everybody, they want to bump elbows with you every day, and you know that every one of them is lying to you. And the Senate is controlled by the Democrats, and you're on committees. I'm on the Education Committee. There are 5 members, and I have no power whatever because it's a vote of 3-2. I'm on the Energy Committee, same thing. And an interesting point about these committees, once in contradiction to the governor's rules, I sat down with one of the committee members. She said we couldn't talk to each other at all in the Senate because of her COVID rules. And this man had been on the head of the Public and Utilities Commission for 10 years. And as we sat down on the committee, he was pushing mostly the kind of things we oppose here. But we sat down together, we discovered that our views on energy were almost identical. And as we talked, but then we got to the end and I said, this is great, but we may not be right. The important thing is for the free market to work out what is the best mix of energy for the country, and then there's no agreement at all. In his case, the government must do everything and tell us what to do, and freedom has no place. And that is, of course, a great battle in our country today. In Washington, Biden's winning votes for us every day by trying to cancel our right to private property. At the state level, the Senate in Oregon this year passed at least 8 laws, every one of which cancels the right to private property of the people of Oregon. In our county, they tried this 8 years ago, and we whipped them 4-1, and they're trying again. And today, 2 commissioners are socialists, one's a conservative, and they're voting to cancel the private property in the county. And it goes on to the local level and even to the school boards. The left is in control right now, and they feel it's a good opportunity before they lose control again to cancel private property rights as much as they can across the country. And on Monday, I have to go to meetings where the state senator is in their district is opposed to the commissioners in his district, and we have another fight on our hands. We fight these things as best we can, but the truth is, in the end, it depends on elections. You can go up to Salem, or you could go to the U.S. Congress, and you could do a little bit of good educating these people. I've accomplished a little bit there in the Senate this way. They made a rule nobody could talk. We couldn't talk to anybody, and therefore you couldn't meet with your fellow senators and kind of, maybe moderate their views a little. But there was a quirk in the Oregon Constitution that says if in order to be a senator, you must uphold the Constitution of the United States. And not being able to talk to your senators made it harder, but there's also a quirk in the Constitution that says that any senator can speak for 2 minutes at the beginning of any daily session on any subject he wants. They call it a remonstrance. Nobody uses this, so I decided to, and now in Oregon, every Senate session every day starts with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, the invocation, and 2 minutes by me. And this is an exercise in simplification, an exercise in making it so simple that even these people will understand. And I can write one of those remonstrances in 20 minutes. I study it for 2 days. Every word, everything about it, trying to simplify it and make sure it's exactly right and yet makes it easier to understand. And I think it's helpful. And you can see a little bit of it. For example, when the Senate started, about 10 times every day you heard about carbon footprints. It's one of the slogans they drop all the time. After a couple of remonstrances, they stopped dropping that slogan. I don't mean they changed on climate change, I just kind of spoiled one of their slogans. And it is useful. When it comes to voting, of course, it's a little bit like the national legislature. We have 12 Republicans, 18 Democrats, and 6 of the Republicans always vote with the Democrats because they're in power, and there are 6 of us, and if you watch the voting board, it's 6, 6, 6, 6, 6 against everything they're trying to do. And along the way, after my young people got me into politics, I wound up serving as state chairman of the Republican Party one term, and I learned about why we're losing elections. And you know what's in the legislature. It's pretty much the same as you see in the Congress. And you could do better by just going down Main Street in any town and picking people at random, even picking the homeless, and the average would be better. But still, that wouldn't be very good. The problem that we have, and we have this problem now today in Oregon, things are tipping our way. They're making trouble for the people. The common sense of American people is rising. We have a good chance in 2022 and 2024, but we don't have candidates. When I was chair, I visited all of the 33 counties, and I said, you must send us candidates. You must get good candidates for office. And I say to the county chair, if you can't get a good candidate, you're the candidate. And only one took me up on it. He went in, he won election to the House, and he did a great job. And indication of how well he did was that the entire House of Representatives in Oregon voted him out of the House of Representatives. It was the first time in the history of Oregon that this had been done. He had only one vote in his favor, that was him. So he's going to run for, I think he'll run again. But this is a problem. And now is the time, this particular time, is when we look for candidates for office. And about January, February, then you start polling to see who the best people are to win the elections. But you can't get candidates. And the people who should be candidates are sitting in this room. The entrepreneurs, the people who can accomplish things, the people who have built our country don't want to be in politics, and they won't do it. And the problem is, that is the source of information. The founders expected that the House of Representatives in Washington would be a place where the most respected, most accomplished people from each community would serve for a couple of years as a public service. You were supposed to go to a man who was highly respected in the community and accomplished and say, it's your turn. And he'd say, I can't do time for that. It's your turn. We'll take care of your store. It's your turn. You have to serve for 2 years. And this worked for a long time, but about half a century ago, it stopped working. And the average term of a congressman in Washington changed from 2 years to now it's 12. And you know what we've got. And the people of accomplishment won't do it. You talk to them, and their eyes just glaze over. But that's what has to be done. And if it isn't, we're going to keep losing elections. If we were we all know each other. You know what's here today. And if you and people like you in your communities and states and counties and so forth would simply do what the founders had hoped you would do when they founded the U.S. Constitution, I think we'd be all right. Otherwise, we go through this pendulum, and now it's swinging a lot against us, and we have to fight in this way that we're doing. And I urge you to think about that. Maybe talk to some of your friends about it. Maybe everybody in here could get somebody. How many? All of you know people of accomplishment and people of good who would be great, and you could just start talking to your friends and practically save the nation if you could spread this so that people would serve in their state legislatures and in the Congress in Washington who have have succeeded in life, have good, solid conservative views, and are entrepreneurs and successful people in these different areas. It is wonderful what Heartland has done, and if they hadn't done this, we would be lacking in protection against this thing which is going on, and they're stalling it, and it's wonderful work. And we all get together and we all have a great time talking to each other, and then we're going to go out there and lose the elections if we don't watch out. And we have a good chance to win. Every time Biden opens his mouth, we get more votes. In Oregon, every time the Senate passed this time. You vote against, no. They passed, in Oregon, the Senate passed 6 laws, every one of which totally cancels the private property rights of Oregonians. And now our county is trying to do the same thing, and then you have to fight that. If we had better people in office, we wouldn't have to fight those things. So it's, the Robinsons sit there. Noah and Matthew and Aaron and I still live together on the old farm, work together as we did, and then the grandchildren are coming down from the other 3, and we're having a wonderful time. And I hope that all of you will think about it. If you're in Oregon, please come and see us. But I had bureaucrats at my gate not a couple of weeks ago demanding entry on the basis of an administrative warrant. And I said, you know, we have an open policy here. Anyone is welcome here. People interested in our research, interested in education, just wonder what we do, our friends and neighbors. We have an open door. Anyone can come here. But if he comes here with an administrative warrant, he isn't getting in. And it didn't get in. So we have to be tough and stand up against these people. And I think we're going to win, but hopefully they won't do too much damage to us in this swing of the pendulum before it goes back. And I think they know it's going back because my chief of staff in the Senate has been there for 20 years. He told me that there was 10 times more bad socialist legislation passed in the Oregon Senate this year than he'd seen in the last 20 years in any other year. They're desperate. They want to get all this done while the pendulum is swung in their direction. So thank you. It's a wonderful privilege to be here. It's wonderful to work among you people, and it's wonderful at home to work in the same way. We're just free. We just sit out there and have fun and publish things in our fields, which are preventive medicine and basic biochemistry. And freedom is a wonderful thing, and we must be sure we preserve it. Thank you.